Paper 1, 2024. So question number 1, we've got a fraction and we've got to evaluate 3 2/3, take away 1 1/4, change to top heavy fractions. So for 3 whole numbers, you do 3 times 3 is 9, so that gives us 9/3. We've got another 2 there is 11, so that gives me 11/3. Then I want to take away 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 makes 5/4. Now we're going to do the smile and kiss method for fractions. So there's a smile. We do 3 times 4 gives us 12, so that's our common denominator. And then the kiss part of it, to get the number that goes in there, you multiply those two together. So 11 times 4 is 44. And then do the same, the number that goes in here corresponds to that one. You do 5 times 3 is 15. So when you're doing this, be very careful. Do your sum at the side of the page. 44 take away 15. 4 take away 5 can't do. Change that to a 3. That becomes 14. 14 take away 5 gives me 9. And 3 take away 1 gives us 2. Don't do any sums in your head. Make sure you write everything down because you've got to be precise. Now, when you have got something like that, check to see if there's any numbers that will divide into top and bottom. There isn't, so we can't simplify anything there. So now we're going to see how many 12ths we can get out of 29. So 12 and another 12 gives me 24. So I've got 2 whole numbers. I've used up 24 of them. How many more have I got left? I've got 5 left. So my answer is 2 and 5/12. Question number 2, given that fx is equal to x plus 3 all squared, evaluate f7. So this is really telling me that whenever I see x, I've got to replace it with a 7. So f7 becomes, every time I see x, replace it with a 7, it becomes 7 plus 3 all squared. 7 plus 3 is 10, so it's 10 squared. 10 tens are 100. Question number 3, when we've got a 2-term bracket and a 3-term bracket, we use rainbows. So we start with x and we multiply every single thing in that second bracket by x. Now, that's starting with x to the power of 2. If we're multiplying everything there by an x, we're going to increase everything by a power of x. So x times x squared gives me x cubed. X times minus 4x gives me minus 4x squared. And x times 5 gives me 5x's. We now then move to the next term and we multiply every single thing in that second bracket by that plus 1. So when I do that, I get 1 lot of x squared, I get 1 lot of negative 4x, I get 1 lot of 5, and that gives me that bracket. Now we've always got to tidy up. So first term, x cubed, and the last term, there'll be nothing else to tidy them up with. There'll only be 1 lot of x cubed and 1 lot of a single number. However, you will have 2 lots of your x squared terms, and you'll also have 2 lots of x terms. So we'll go through that and we'll sort that out. X cubed, can't do anything with that, that stays where it is. We've got the green ones, which is negative 4x squared, but we want to add on 1, so we're down at negative 4, we're coming up 1, so that's negative 3x squared. The blue ones, the x's, we've got 5x's take away 4x's, that's straightforward, gives me 1x, and the plus 5 stays as it is. Question 4. Vector A is given components 3, 4, negative 1. Vector B has got components 5, 3, and 2. Find the resultant vector of 3 lots of A plus B. So 3 lots of A add on B vector is going to be equal to 3 lots of 3, 4, negative 1. And then I want to add on 1 lot of B vector, which is 5, 3, and 2. So when we multiply this one out, we get 3 3s are 9, 3 4s are 12, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and we want to add on 5, 3, and 2. So we'll add the x components, so 9 and 5 gives me 14. We'll add the y components, which is 12 and 3 gives me 15. And then the Z ones, we've got -3 add on 2. So we're down at -3, we come up to, takes me to -1. And that's a resultant vector. Next one is our stats question. So it says the prices in pounds of the cameras on display in a shop are listed below. £155, £160, £190, £210, £230, £240. Calculate the median and the interquartile range of these prices. So always check to make sure they're in order, going from smallest to largest, they are. So when they're written out like that, you have got to find the one in the middle, that's the median, and it's also given the symbol Q2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the middle of that list is in there. It's between 3 numbers and 3 numbers. So to work out what the median is, when it's between 2 numbers, so the median is Q2, is equal to, add those 2 numbers together, so it's 190 plus 210 and divide it by 2. So when we add them together, we get 200, 300, 400 divided by 2, which is equal to 200. Now another way of looking at that, rather than doing that wee sum, is what number lies between 190 and 210? It is 200. Okay, so if you can do that, that's okay, but make sure you're precise and you don't make any silly mistakes. So we've got the median, that's okay. We want the interquartile range. So interquartile range, you've got to learn the formula. It's Q3 minus Q1. And if it said semi, you would divide it by 2, but it's just interquartile range, so it's just Q3 minus Q1. So we want to go to the middle number in the lower half. So the middle number there is 160. We want to look for the middle number in that list, which is 230. So that tells me that Q1 is equal to 160, and it tells me that Q3 is equal to 230. So interquartile range is 230 minus 160, and that is equal to 70. Now do a sum at the side of your page, you do not want to make any silly mistakes. So that's your interquartile range done, and you've got your median there as well. And underline both answers so you can see what they have. Now usually the next part of one of these questions is a comparison. So it says on a website, a sample of camera prices have a median of £195 and an interquartile range of 73. Make 2 valid comments comparing the prices of the cameras in the shop and on the website. So above was the values for the shop. So we had the shop prices. We worked out that the median was equal to £200, and we worked out that the interquartile range was equal to £70. Now, the ones that they've given us, so that's the shop, the ones on the website, we have got, if we look back at the question, the website we had a median, and the median was equal to £195. And the interquartile range was equal to £73. Okay, I'm going to put a £3 sign in there. Right, 2 valid comments. You start them all off exactly the same. We're going to compare the medians. We're going to compare the interquartile range. Now, sometimes you're asked to work out standard deviation and an average. You answer these questions exactly the same way. So median is giving me an indication of an average price, and interquartile range is giving me some sort of an indication of the spread in prices, the variation in prices. So we're going to start off for the median. We're going to say that basically, on average, and we've got to say what we're talking about. So on average, the cost of a camera, okay, so the cost of a camera, and we'll just say in a shop, okay, it doesn't matter what way around you say it, in a shop was more expensive. Now you could have said on the website it was cheaper, Doesn't matter what way around you say it, but you always start off on average, and you've got to write down what this is about. Okay, now, second one, we're going to make some sort of a statement about the interquartile range, and that tells us about the variation in prices. So we're going to look, and we're going to say in the shop it was a smaller value for the interquartile range. So that meant that the prices were more consistent, they were less varied. This is a bigger number, so you can see that the prices were more varied on the website. It doesn't matter which one you say, right? So I'm just going to say there was a greater variation in the cost of a camera on the website or on websites. And that's your true statements. Now, it doesn't matter what you were asked in those things, you make those statements exactly the same way. Question number 6. So we've got surds going on here. So when you want to simplify a surd, you're thinking about square numbers: 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. Write them down if you need to know them. So we want to find one of those square numbers that divides into 75. In an SQA paper, they tend to give you a clue. Now there's a wee root 3. So 3 times what gives me 75? It's 3 times 25. So that becomes the square root of 25 times by 3. And then we've got this minus root 3 that we can't do anything with. I'm going to break that root sign right down the middle. And I've got the square root of 25 multiplied by the square root of 3. I'm just pulling that root 3 down. And we can now work this bit out. So root 25 is 5. Don't need the times sign, so just do 5 root 3 minus, and that's 1 root 3. So I've got 5 of these things. I want to take away one of them, so that means I've got 4 of them. So I've got 4 root 3s. Question 7. Solve algebraically the system of equations. So we have got to eliminate one of these letters. Okay, so smaller numbers 2 and 3 compared to 7 and 2. I'm going to eliminate letter P. So when you're eliminating, you swap those numbers over. So I'm going to times that one by 3. I'm going to times that one by 2. And when I do that, the equations I've got, 3 times 2p is 6p. 3 times 7 is 21, and it's minus 21r. And 3 times 11 is 33. Always stop, do a quick check. 3 2s are 6, 3 times 7 is 21, and it's a negative. 3 11 is 33. Next one, 2 times 3p gives us 6p, 2 times 2r gives us plus 4r, and the next one is 2 times 4 gives me 8. Now we want to eliminate p, so I'm going to write down these equations. I'm going to take these equations away because it's the same sign, so same sign subtract. I'm going to write that one with bigger numbers down there first, so I'm going to write 6p plus 4r is equal to 8. Now I've got a negative number there, that's why I'm writing it last. So we've got, and it doesn't matter, you can do it either way, 6p minus 21r, and that's equal to 33. Do a wee quick check, make sure you've copied them down properly, put a big bracket right round that full equation, go through your takeaway sign. So 6p, take away 6p, they disappear, it's gone. That was what we wanted to do. I've got 4r, and I want to take away negative 21r. So when I take two things, these two negatives together, that makes a positive. So I've got 4r's plus 21r gives me 25r. And then I've got 8 take away 33. So 8 take away 33, I know my answer is going to be negative. I'm going to make it easy for myself. What's 33 take away 8? It's 25, I know it's negative 25. So 25r is equal to negative 25. R is equal to negative 25 divided by 25, which is equal to negative 1. So next thing we want to do is we want to sub r equal to negative 1 into, now choose one of the equations from the question. So I'm going to just take the first one. So I've got 2p minus 7r is equal to 11. And we want to work out what p is, so 2p stays there just now. I want to take away 7 lots of negative 1, and I'm writing it all out in full just now. So 7 lots of negative 1 is going to give me plus 7. That's equal to 11. So 2p is equal to, take 7 away from both sides, 7 away from 11 gives us 4. If 2p is 4, then we want to divide by 2, so p is equal to 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Question number 8, it says the graph of y is equal to a cos bx, and that just means x is in between 0 and 360 degrees, so there it's there. It's shown, it says state the value of a. Now a, the number before the sine or the cos, gives you the amplitude, and the amplitude is half the distance between the biggest number that it reaches down to the lowest number. Now this graph is symmetrical, so that's 7 plus another 7 is 14, half it gives us 7, it takes us back to that number. So if it is symmetrical, it's just that number, 7 and negative 7. So we've got a is equal to 7. Then we've got to state the value of b. So b is this thing here, and basically it's the number of complete cycles in 360. So we check, there's 360 there, because sometimes it's a different number there, so we've got to check that. Now, how many complete cos graphs? There's 1, and then we change to 2. So we've got 2 complete cycles in 360, so therefore b is equal to 2. Question number 9. It says in a car rally competition that starts at different times, the scatter graph shows the relationship between the length of time they have been driving, which is t minutes, and the distance to the finishing line in d kilometres. It says a line of best fit has been drawn, and it says point A represents a competitor who has been driving for 3 minutes and is 26 kilometres from the finishing line. So that means that A is the point, and it's x first. So it's the time first, so it's 3 minutes and 26, and B is the point, it represents 10 minutes and 12 kilometres, so B is the point 12, sorry 10, 12. Okay, they usually are in order. Then it says find the equation of the line of best fit in terms of D and T. Right, so first of all we'll work out the gradient. So gradient we know is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So I'm just going to take that as my first point. There's the x number, and that's the y number, and that'll be the second one I use, which is x2 and y2. So y2 minus y1 is 12 minus 26, all divided by, and we've got x2 minus x1, and that is 10 minus 3. So we've got 12 take away 26. It's going to be negative. I'm going to switch it around so that I can work it out better. So 26 take away 12 is 14, so it's negative 14. That's divided by 10 take away 3, which is 7. So the gradient is going to be negative. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Now that is sensible because that line is sloping downhill. That tells me I've got a negative gradient. So the next thing we want to do is we want to find the equation. So to get your equation of your line, you need to know at least one point and have the gradient. So I know the gradient is negative 2, and I'm going to choose the point 10, 12. Doesn't matter which one you choose. So we sub all of this into y minus b is equal to m bracket x minus a. So that point now represents a and b. So we've got y minus 12 is equal to negative 2 times x minus a, so it's x minus 10. We'll multiply out the bracket, so y minus 12 is negative 2x's. Negative 2 times negative 10 is plus 20. Now I want to tidy this up. I don't like that take away 12. I've got to undo it, so I do the opposite. So I'm going to add 12. I've got to be fair. I add 12 to both sides. And when I do that, I get y is equal to negative 2x's. 20 plus 12 is 32. Now that's the equation of your line, but it's not the equation that we want to write down because we've got to write it in terms of d and t. So t is on the x-axis and d is on the y-axis. So it means our equation is d is equal to negative 2 times t plus 32. You will get one full mark for changing those letters, so please do not forget it. Now for these questions, you always get asked to make some sort of a calculation from your equation. So it says another competitor has been driving for 7 minutes. Use your equation from part A to estimate the distance the competitor is from the finishing line. So we look back. What did we work out? We worked out that the distance d was equal to negative 2 times t plus 32. So what are they telling me? They're telling me that the person has been driving for 7 minutes. So t is 7 minutes. And they want me to work out the distance. So the distance from the finishing line is equal to negative 2 times the time. So that's times 7 minutes. Add on 32. So d is equal to negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. And we want to add 32 onto that. So we'll get 32, take away 14, make sure you write everything down. So can't take 4 away from 2, so we'll borrow 1, and that becomes 12. 12 take away 4 gives me 8, and 2 take away 1 gives me 1. So it turns out to be 18. What was the distance measured in? It was measured in kilometres. So this part of your question will always be a substitution part. You'll always have to substitute a number in. We've now got an angle in a circle question, so we'll read this wee bit first and then we'll have a look at the diagram. It says diagram below has a circle centre O, we can see that. AC is a tangent at the point B, so there's the big tangent there at that point B. And CE is a tangent at the point D, so there's another big tangent there, meeting at D. It says B to G, D to G and B to F are diameters. So we've got diameters of the circle there and a diameter there. And it tells us that angle DFE is 125 degrees. Right, so first of all, we've got these tangents. What do we know about a tangent? A tangent meets a radius at 90 degrees. So there's the T for tangent. There it's there. And there's another one. There's a tangent there. And there is the radius. There's the other T. So that's your two tangents there. Now, we've been given one clue, and that's this angle here. Now, what we want to do is we want to look and see what we can work out from that. So there is a straight line going right across there. So I can work out that angle in there, which is 180. Take away 125. And when I take them away, I get 55 degrees. So that's 55 in there. Now, that's a radius, that's a radius. So that's an isosceles triangle, so that's also 55. Now, what does that mean? What can I use then those two for? I can use them to work out this angle here. So I can do 55 plus 55, and that is going to be 110. And if I take that 110 away from 180, that is going to leave me with 70 degrees. So in there is 70 degrees. Now that means that that's 70 as well. There's a whole big straight line. That means that that bit's 110, and that bit up there is 110. So how does that help me get this shaded angle? There's two ways I can do this. A four-sided shape, all of the angles will add up to 360. You might not know that. So if you don't know that, then the easiest way to do is to have that right down the middle. And we can say, right, that angle is a tangent, so I know that's 90 degrees. If that's 110, then what's that wee bit of it? It's half of it. So half of 110 is 55. So now I can do 90 plus 55. And when I add 55 onto 90, it gives me 145. So this bit in here is going to be 180 minus 145, and that will leave me with 35. So if that wee bit there's 35, it's all symmetrical. That's got to be 35. So the shaded angle has got to be equal to 35 plus the other 35 is 70 degrees. Question number 11. A straight line has equation x plus 4y minus 24 equals 0. Find the gradient of this line. So this is a typical question where you've got to rearrange this whole formula so that you've got y is equal to mx plus c. And when it's in that format, you can read off the gradient as the number in front of x. So we're going to compare what we've got here. So I've got x, add on 4y is minus 24 is equal to 0. So I'll leave the 4y there. That can stay just now. But I want to get rid of everything else, so the x's are on the right hand side and these numbers are on the right hand side. So to do that, I am going to take x away from both sides. And I don't like that take away 24, so I'm going to do the opposite to undo that. So I'm going to add 24 onto both sides. So when I do that, I end up with 4y is equal to negative x plus 24. Now, I've got to have 1y, I can't have 4y. So I've got to take that whole equation and divide it by 4. So y is equal to, now that's the same as minus 1 lot of x, so that's minus 1 over 4 x's. 24 is divisible by 4. 6 4s are 24, so that's plus 6. So I've now got y is equal to mx plus c. So the gradient of this line is equal to negative 1/4. Now sometimes it asks you the y-intercept or the coordinates of the y-intercept. Y-intercept would be 6, the coordinates would be 0, 6. But you weren't asked that, but sometimes you are. Question 12. Express x squared minus 6x plus 8 in the form x minus a all squared plus b. So we have got to find the number in the bracket first of all. So to get the number in the bracket, we halve the x coefficient. In other words, we halve the number in front of x. So we end up with x minus 3 all squared. Pull down your plus 8, just leave it sitting out there. And then you've got to subtract this 3 squared. So take away 3 squared, which is 9. We want to tidy up a bit. So we've got x minus 3 all squared. Negative 9 add on 8 is minus 1. And that's it completed. It says, hence or otherwise state the coordinates of the turning point of the graph. Y is equal to that thing. So we know that y is equal to x minus 3 all squared minus 1. So the turning point is just read off that. So what you do is you change the sign in here for the x number. So that's going to be, instead of negative 3, it's going to be plus 3. But you keep this number for your y coordinate. So it stays as negative 1. So inside the bracket to get the x coordinate, but you change and you keep that number there. So it becomes 3 and negative 1, and that's your turning point. Now, usually you've got another wee bit of a question to answer on this one. So it says the diagram shows the graph y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 8. A line PQ has been drawn parallel to the x-axis, where P lies in the y-axis, P and Q lie on the graph of x squared minus 6x plus 8. So there is a graph. What do we know? We've just worked out that that turning point there was a point 3, negative 1. And we know that the equation was y is equal to x minus 3 all squared minus 1. We also had another version of that. Okay, so we have two versions of the equation. That's it there. Okay, that's a completed square one, and that was the one that they gave me. So we want to find out the coordinates of Q. Parabolas are all symmetrical. They're all symmetrical. So I know that x number there is 3, so bang in the middle of that, x is equal to 3. There it's there. Now, I really need to know what the coordinates of P are. So, coordinates of P, that's where it cuts the y-axis. Now, when something cuts the y-axis, we know that the x-coordinate is always 0. And that is because if you take any point there, there's 0, 0, there's 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, and it keeps going. So the x number is 0. So we can take either one of those equations, and every time I see an x, I put in 0. I'm going to take the first one, x squared minus 6x is plus 8. So that's going to be 0 squared minus 6 times 0, add on 8. So therefore, we have got 0 squared is 0. 6 times 0 is still 0. Negative 6 times 0 is still 0. Doesn't matter. And then we've got plus 8. So the y coordinate there is 8. So I know that that is the point 0, 8. Now I want to find out the coordinates of Q. So I know then that the y coordinate, that's up there at 8. So I know it's going to be something 8. But I need to find out what the x value is. And all I do is, that's at 0. I've gone along 3 boxes to get to there. I've got to be fair and go along another 3. So that would take me along to 6. So the coordinates of Q are 6, 8. So all your parabolas are symmetrical. Count boxes. Now, out of interest, there's your equation, your axis of symmetry. The equation of the axis of symmetry, that is, x is equal to 3. You weren't asked it, it's just a wee extra bit of revision. Expand and simplify fully. So we'll get x bracket x to the power of a half plus x to the power of negative 1. So rules, when you're multiplying indices, you add the powers. Now there's a power missing from there, that's x to the power of 1. So when I'm multiplying those two terms together, I've got to add the powers. So I've got 1 plus a half. 1 plus a half is 1.5. We always have them as top heavy fractions. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3 over 2. So that gives me x to the power of 3 over 2. Then I've got to do x to the 1 multiplied by x to the negative 1. So we're adding the powers again. So I've got the power of 1, and I want to add on negative 1. So that's the same as 1 take away 1, which is equal to 0. So that gives me x to the power of 0. This is a classic question. X to the power of 0, anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So there'll be 1 full mark in that question for that bit alone. So you've got x to the power of 3 over 2 plus 1. And that's our final answer. Next question, it says, in the diagram, triangle ABC and ADE are mathematically similar. And it gives us all the dimensions. BC is 3 centimetres, D to E is 7 centimetres, A to D is 10.5 centimetres. Now they want me to calculate the length of BD. BD is not a part of a triangle. So how am I going to get the length of that? What do I need to know? If I know that whole distance there is 10.5, I really need to know what the size of that wee triangle is. So what I'm going to do is, I am going to draw down the big triangle first. So there's the big triangle. Okay, and we'll put in some letters so that we can see this. So we've got A at the top, and we've got D at the bottom, and we've got E down here. I know that that is 10.5 centimetres, and I know that that is 7 centimetres. I'm now going to draw a smaller triangle, which is A to B to C. So that's it there. And we'll fill in some of the dimensions there as well. So what do we know? We know that that there is 3 centimetres. That's A, that's B, and that's C. Now looking at those two, the only thing I can work out is that wee distance there. So we're going to do scale factor. So it's a linear scale factor. Linear scale factor. That just means the scale factor of lines, linear. That's given the symbol K, and it's equal to shape 2 divided by shape 1. Now we're going to expect a fraction because this is a reduction. It's getting smaller. So it's got to be a fraction. It's got to be less than 1. So shape 2 is 3 divided by 7. So that's our scale factor. So now I want to work out A to B. So I take every size there and I multiply it by the scale factor, and I'm multiplying by 3 over 7. So we've got AB is equal to 3 over 7 multiplied by 10.5. A wee bit harder, it's the last question in the paper. So we're going to divide by 7 and times by 3. So 10.5 divided by 7. 1 divided by 7 can't go, carry it across. 10 divided by 7 goes once, and 3 left over. There's a wee decimal point there, we'll put the decimal point in. I've got 35 divided by 7. 7 5s are 35, so that gives us 1.5. But I've now got to multiply by 3, so I've got 1.5 multiplied by 3. 3 5s are 15, put down the 5, carry 1, 3 1s are 3, and that 1 makes 4. Decimal point's got to go in there, one number after the decimal point in the question, 1 in the answer. So that tells me that AB is equal to 4.5 centimetres. So that should help me work out this wee length in here. So I know from there to there is equal to 4.5 centimetres. How do I get BD? BD has got to be 10.5, take away 4.5. So BD is equal to 10.5, take away 4.5. And when I take those two numbers away, I end up with a value of 6.0 centimetres. Now that is the end of that paper. It took us just about 35 minutes. You get a full hour for a paper. I've added a couple of wee extra things in there in discussion. So you've got plenty of time. So take your time, be precise, and check everything as you're going along.